I apologise in advance for how I might upset you on Buckaroo Banzai.
You know what? That's the thing about Buckaroo Banzai. You either get it or you don't. It's
Yeah.
not a Marmite film. Welcome to the FilmFile, the film show for film geeks by film geeks. That's just really dull.
Well, speak for yourself.
There you go. There's his intro. So, hello and welcome to the FilmFile. And that inauspicious opening. Every week I try to come up with something, witty, off the cuff. This week, nah. Yeah, that's all we got.
Yeah.
That's all I'd got in me. All I had.
Anyway, who are you?
I'm Lee Ford.
I'm Andy Meakin.
Thank you, as ever, for joining us for another FilmFile. So, now it's time for this week's deep dive. This deep dive this week, could be our most contentious yet, as we go into the 8th dimension for the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension.
Insert trailer there.
Is there a trailer out there?
There will be. There'll be something. Or insert clip from.
Okay. So, I've been harping on about Buckaroo Banzai for probably nearly a year. There's not been an episode that's gone by without some reference to the film. And even in some episodes, more than once. Buckaroo Banzai, you ask? What by jingo is that? Well, I'll tell you. It's a 1984 American science fiction film produced and directed by W.D. Richer and written by Earl McRauch. It starred genre favorite Peter Weller. Yes, he of RoboCop fame. Amongst the cast, get this, folks: John Lithgow, Ellen Barkin, Christopher Lloyd, Jeff Goldblum, Clancy Brown, Carl Lumley. And it's a film you've never heard about, but you've heard that guy on the podcast go on about it. What on earth could it be about? And that is the question. The film centers upon the efforts of a polymath, Dr. Buckaroo Banzai, a physician, a neurosurgeon, test pilot, and of course, close to my heart, a rock star. He's there to save the world by defeating a band of interdimensional aliens, the Red Lectoids from Planet 10. This is an action-adventure comedy that blends science fiction genres, romance, you name it. This movie's got it. I love it. But I tell you what, for all its pure, out-there fun, there are some who just don't get it. Andy, tell me your viewpoint on the adventures of Buckaroo Banzai across the 8th dimension. Because I have been knocking on for some time.
Now, this is a film that not only Lee has knocked on about for some time, but this is a film that has been referenced in so much genre entertainment throughout my life that I've always felt that somehow I've missed the joke by not watching it. Because episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation, on the data screens, they would hide references to this film within there with names of ships or names of captains referencing Buckaroo Banzai. Apparently, it's beloved by pretty much everyone to do with genre entertainment. Everyone loves this film. And as a huge film geek and a huge genre fan, surely I was going to love it. Surely I had to. And wow, I needed to get round to watching this. And my instant response that I posted on Letterboxd as soon as I finished was, what the hell have I just watched? I don't get it. I don't get it. Is this part of an elaborate joke, a 30-year joke to build me up with excitement for something, only to make... Have you all been working in unison together with everyone in the world who's mentioned this film just to catch me off guard? The 102-minute runtime was a mess of ideas. It felt like a screenplay had been written on crayon by a 13-year-old boy Rock star neurosurgeon, physicist, test pilot Banzai finishes off complicated surgery before speeding in test vehicles and breaking dimensional walls. All of this before lunch. Surrounded by his Hong Kong Cavaliers band, all experts in various fields who want to join him on this ride. What I got from the mess that followed was a tragically B-movie plot that I couldn't work out whether it wanted to be a comedy, but I wasn't laughing, because sometimes it took itself overly serious. Even whilst one character parades around in a garish cowboy outfit, and there'll be more on that later when we talk about the casting. It baffled me. Banzai can manage to interrupt his gigs, although it is worth noting that the gig that he interrupts to talk to a single-spotted depressed woman and sing directly to didn't have a lot of people in the audience, so he can't be that much of a rock star. But that person turns out to be coincidentally his late wife's long-lost twin sister. I mean, this script is awful. this is like I say, 13-year-old schoolboy level of writing. It's all coincidences and ideas with no coherence at all. And the dimensional war going on between the red lectoids and the black lectoids with John Lithgow. You know what? Tell me what you love about it before we talk about the casting. Tell me what it is that you love about it, because I genuinely could not get this.
Everything you disliked about Buckaroo Banzai is what I like. I like the fact that it's strange. I love the fact that it's unintelligible. I love the fact that it doesn't make a lick of sense. I love the fact that it's a modern take on Doc Savage, Man of Bronze. You know, the hero can do everything, and he's got his band of guys around him who kind of fill in the gaps, astrophysicists, surgeons, all those sort of things. I like the fact that it's ridiculously cool, but it doesn't. It doesn't. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't make a lick of sense. But I love the weirdness of it. I love the fact that it exists. That a film like Buckaroo Banzai is out there, and it exists when it just takes pop culture and all the pulpy elements that I love about pop culture and throws them into this bizarre mix. It's a bit like your grandma making a stew that's got a bit of everything in, and you go, this shouldn't work. But for me, it worked. And I get that people don't like it. I really do. It's got problems. The film was basically unfinished. I mean, that's the story behind it, because they kind of ran out of money, and so there's lots of problems with the film visually. That there's no close-ups because they shot all the masters, and
Yeah.
as the studio started to sort of pull the plug on it, it kind of came out as an unfinished version. But I love the fact that it throws you into a world that goes, here's Buckaroo Banzai's world. Just accept it, as though you have seen the 5 other Buckaroo Banzai movies, and this is the next part of all the series that you should have seen before. And I just think it's got a sort of in essence it's a comic strip movie. It's a pulp fiction, and I mean that in the sense of your Doc Savages, your Shadows, the Avengers, all those sorts of things. And it's just got that weirdness that I get it. There's a watermelon in one shot, and it's there being experimented on, and it's just sort of referenced by. Oh, we'll get back to that later. I think it's one of the most. It's got some fantastic quotes, and clearly it's not just me who loves it, because it's referenced by so many filmmakers. I mentioned to Andy when we were going to talk about this, the end of The Life Aquatic. The final march is the final march straight out of the end of a Buckaroo Banzai. And the fact that Jeff Goldblum's in it, the fact that it gets referenced in Ready Player One, the fact that everybody for years has wanted to see a sequel, the fact that there's been so many attempts to make a TV series. Kevin Smith was announced at one point to be doing an adaptation of it for Amazon Studios. It's a film that you just kind of get, or you don't. And I think it's not even one of those films which is Marmite. It's you get it or you don't get it. It is, and that's again, it's a thing to love about it. For me, it's a film that went out to do. We're just going to do something that if you get it, fantastic. If you don't, hey, doesn't matter. I just love the fact that a movie like The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai exists in my world.
It truly bewildered me from start to finish. The cast all seem to be thinking they're on different films. You've got Peter Weller is giving it all like gritty, down and dirty, like serious, straight laced. Then you've got Lithgow chewing scenery and being buffoonery as Emilio Lizardo, and Clancy
See,
Brown
how
and
could you
Christopher
not
Lloyd.
love a character called Emilio Lizardo?
Clancy Brown and Christopher Lloyd popping up raised a little bit of a smile. And this is the Kevin Bacon of films. That there's so many links to everything else within it. You know, if you're ever playing like a 7 Degrees film like game, you go through this because you're going to link
Yeah.
everyone with everyone.
We did it, didn't we, the other week on a deep dive, and I went, there's a Buckaroo Banzai connection.
Yeah.
There's another Buckaroo Banzai connection.
Which now I can see why you connect the film to so many things that we talk about, because everyone who is everyone is linked into this film. I said earlier that I'll get back when we talk about the casting. I'll get back to a cowboy wearing character, and that's Jeff Goldblum's character, the brain surgeon who wants to join Banzai's troupe, and for some reason decides that he needs to wear a bright red and white cowboy costume. Which, you know, generally that's yet more nonsense that was just like, what's going on? But for some strange reason, with Goldblum playing this role, that actually seemed to make perfect natural sense.
You've got to remember that's prime Goldblum as well. He was
Yes,
off the fly, and he still
it
wasn't
felt
the massive star that he became with Jurassic Park.
it felt like it was giving
your left of center
yeah,
Goldblum days.
it felt like they were just letting Goldblum be himself and just turn up wearing a daft costume because that's how eccentric and weird he is. As a result, this film gained one solid extra star on my star rating on Letterboxd because Goldblum is always fun when he's allowed to be bonkers. And he kind of matches the chaos and absolute bonkers mess that's going on around him. As a result, everyone else feels awkwardly out of place, acting hammily over the top. Lithgow, I'm talking about you. You are so over the top. But Goldblum's own reality of slightly off kilter edge slots in perfectly.
Yeah.
If everyone was acting like Jeff Goldblum in this film, I probably would have embraced it more. But it's the fact that everyone's acting against each other and pulling the film in different directions while the story's pulled itself in about 40 directions at the same time. I felt it was an incomprehensible mess of ideas with underdeveloped characters. It felt like there was 5 or 6 films mashed into one rather than, you know, spending time to develop things. And you said about the budget cuts meant that they couldn't go back and do reshoots and close-ups and things, which means that the direction just feels functional as opposed to creative. And it doesn't lend anything to the proceedings. It feels like literally you've set up a camera and just says, do stuff in front of it. And then half an hour later, okay, stop, move on. And there's nothing, no use of the camera. It's just filming things. It's a cult film that I got the feeling at the end of it that maybe I needed to have been there when it got released. You know, sat with mates, drunk or stoned, watching this on VHS. And then I might have appreciated it and it'll have grown with me. But it's scraped overall, and I say scraped, this is proper scraped, 2 stars off me on Letterboxd. And one of those stars was purely because of Goldblum.
I found this film. No, I'm going to start that again. Keep it in. Don't cut it. This film found me. It was a time when I was getting a little bit bored with kind of the Hollywood blockbuster. So this is the 80s. I said it was 84.
Yeah.
And I'd heard about this film because, hey, guys, there was no internet back there. Be shocked, I know. And I'd hear about Buckaroo Banzai in Starlog magazine. And the film never got a UK cinema release because it failed at the box office. And you know what? I can totally understand why it didn't do well. But I wrote to 20th Century Fox and went, is this film going to be ever going to be released in the UK? Can you give me some direction? I got back not only a letter, but I got to join the Blue Blaze Irregulars. I became part of. There was an underground 20th Century Fox fan guide. They sent me badges. They sent me posters. They sent me a newsletter from Buckaroo Banzai himself. I became a part of the team, and this film found me. And then it just never turned up at the cinema. I'd read all about this. I read the Marvel Comics adaptation, so I knew who Buckaroo Banzai was. And then it turned up on VHS a few years later when I think Canon bought a whole bunch of movies from Fox. And I just loved it. And it was just weird and odd and day glow and 80s. And who didn't want to be a rock star that was also a test pilot? It was just a film made in heaven. There's a lot of problems with it. I grant it. It's not a work of perfection by any stretch of the imagination, but it's its edginess and its rawness and it's just its craziness that it just says, here's Buckaroo Banzai's world. Have you not seen the other movies? They exist in another universe. I think it's ahead of its time, and I think we are now ready for that kind of cross up of genres, which I think back then we weren't. When our other main hero on the big screen was Indiana Jones, I just think it was 30 years too early, and I think you
I,
could come back and redo Buckaroo Banzai, keeping the character, and do a TV series about it, and have that. You think of stuff like the Umbrella Academy, which has got that kind of out there approach, which I just think it was way ahead of its time.
I actually commented to someone in work this week after watching it that it felt like a film that was ahead of its time whilst also being really out of date at the same time.
There you go. There you go. A perfect Buckaroo Banzai quote.
Yeah. We've spoken before how we tend to agree on a lot of things, and sometimes we slightly disagree. Our Batman review last week, I loved it. You enjoyed it, but had problems. I think this is the first time that we've actually been at complete opposite ends of the spectrum on something. And ladies and gentlemen, take note of how we didn't start deriding each other on this. We spoke of why we feel how we feel. This is how you debate liking and disliking films. You don't always have to agree on something.
Oh no, you do it with great humour.
Yeah, I can understand how people could have latched onto it. Like I've said, maybe if I was there when it came out and it had caught me at that essential time in my life of like teenagers years, this might be one that has grown with me. But I'm clearly approaching this film far too late in the day. And as a result, I'm approaching it and watching it and going, I don't get it. I don't get
Andy,
it.
nobody's nobody. Everyone has something to offer.
This this is your Wild Wild West, isn't it?
Yeah, I guess it is.
This is because Wild Wild West, for those who don't know, that's the film that I defend to the hilt. I love that film, and no one else does. So this is Lee's Wild Wild West.
If you want to find Buckaroo Banzai, you can do so by
selling your soul to Satan, I think.
Have you been invaded by a red lectoid?
It's available to stream for a rental fee or purchase on all your platforms, Amazon, iTunes, etc., etc. It's not available for free on anything, but if you really want to check it out, rental fees are about £2.50. Give it a shot.